My parents take my sister on vacation instead of me. Later on, she ruined the family vacation and got arrested. Now, my parents finally realize her true colors. I, 23F, have a younger sister Lisa, 18F, who I believe is the true incarnation of evil on earth. I have tried my best to convince my parents over the years to see the truth, but they never believed me, at least until now. For context, my parents and I have always had a somewhat strained relationship, mainly because of Lisa. My parents absolutely adore her because my mother had a miscarriage and she lost the baby, which deeply affected her. Lisa, born a few years later, was regarded as their miracle child, a beacon of hope and joy that healed the pain of their previous loss. My parents showered her with affection and attention, turning her into the center of our family's universe. Now, let me be clear. I loved my younger sister when we were children. It's just that I slowly started realizing that Lisa had an incredible talent for manipulation that none of my family members were able to grasp. She knew how to twist the story in her favor, and she was a master at playing the victim card. Once, on my birthday, I got this amazing antique pocket watch from our grandparents. I was so happy with it, as my grandmother told me that it was a family heirloom. But Lisa, well, she was clearly jealous and kept asking if I could share it with her. I said no because it was a gift for me on my birthday. She tried to persuade our parents, but since it was from our grandparents, they couldn't do much. That night, Lisa, who knew I was terrified of spiders, placed a house spider inside my pillowcase, ensuring I would discover it when I went to bed. I awoke to the horrifying sensation of a spider crawling over my skin and started screaming. My parents rushed to my room, concerned. Lisa acted all surprised and caring, but later she admitted to me, with a creepy grin when we were alone, that she put the spider there to teach me a lesson. I was shocked by how casually she confessed without any remorse. Another time, I remember when I had a crush on my classmate, Mark, and I finally had the courage to invite him over to watch a movie with me. I was feeling all giddy and excited and had carefully picked out a dress to impress him. But as soon as Mark arrived at our house, Lisa deliberately spilled a glass of juice all over my dress and started laughing at me. I was more mortified and had to change, all while trying to hide my embarrassment. As if that wasn't enough, Lisa started telling Mark embarrassing stories from my childhood, making me feel utterly humiliated. She didn't leave us both alone the entire time we watched the movie. When Mark was about to leave, Lisa smirked and told him that he could do much better than me. Mark, who had been uncomfortable the entire time, left in a hurry. I just couldn't believe how cruel and cunning my younger sister could be. Over the years, I told my parents about her antics several times, but they always chalked it up to her being young and naive. They just couldn't see her for who she really was. Whenever I complained, they just dismissed me and thought of me as the troublemaker in the family, so I eventually stopped speaking up about her. Lisa continued being their favorite child, while I, always straightforward, often felt like the outsider in my own family. I focused on my studies and managed to get into a good college. This gave me a chance to move out of our house and have a better life. In college, however, every time I returned home during breaks, Lisa made it abundantly clear that she despised having me back in the house. She would deliberately ignore me, refusing to engage in even the most basic of conversations during family meals. She would avoid sitting next to me or interrupt me if I was talking to our parents. Her constant need to undermine my presence was evidence that she despised the idea of me being around and was determined to make my visits as uncomfortable as possible. Lisa even used to mess with my stuff, pretending that she needed to borrow things, but would often damage them or lose them instead. My parents did nothing when I tried to complain and instead urged us to get along with each other. As a result, I began avoiding coming home during breaks. I would come up with excuses to spend my breaks with my college friends' families instead. Truth be told, my parents didn't mind as much and chalked it up to me being independent and wanting to enjoy some time away from home. When Lisa graduated from high school, she didn't have the grades for college, so she settled for community college instead. This meant that she never had to move out of our parents' place. These days, I am working at a multinational corporation in San Francisco, and I genuinely enjoy my job. I sometimes stay in touch with my parents, but I rarely visit back home. I don't maintain any contact with Lisa whatsoever. Now, coming on to the story. My father recently had a near-fatal heart attack. Fortunately, he survived by some miracle and was rushed to a hospital. When my mother called to tell me about it, I immediately booked my tickets and flew back home to be there for them. The doctors prescribed numerous medications for my father and strongly advised him to start working out. Since being discharged, my father has expressed spending more time with us as a family and told me how lucky he was to be saved from the brink of death. I understood where my dad was coming from, so I continued spending a few days at our house. My job has the option to work remotely, so it was no problem. However, I noticed that Lisa was deeply agitated that I was back. I tried my best to avoid her because we were both older now, and I didn't want to argue after our dad's heart attack. One morning during breakfast, my father suggested that we all go on a family vacation, as it had been a long time since we all went somewhere together. Initially, I had my reservations, but knowing how important it was to my dad, I agreed. As for Lisa, well, she wasn't thrilled about it, but she had no choice but to go along with the plan. My father made all the arrangements for our flights and accommodations. I had planned my leave from work in advance and informed my colleagues not to contact me during this time, as I genuinely wanted to enjoy quality time with our parents. However, when we arrived at the airport, I found out that my flight ticket had been canceled. I exchanged puzzled looks with my father, who kept insisting that he had booked and paid for my ticket. When we checked further, it turned out that out of the 4 tickets, the one with my name on it, in particular, had been mysteriously canceled. As I stood there trying to comprehend the situation, I looked over at Lisa. She had a sly smile on her face as she stared at me. It was a look I had seen so many times before, the same expression she wore when she had successfully pulled off one of her manipulative tricks. I realized at that moment that she was the one who had canceled my ticket, probably from my father's computer. I started yelling at her as she continued to stand there, smiling at me. I pointed out to my parents that it was Lisa's doing, as she never wanted me to go on this family vacation. Instead of believing me, my mother immediately dismissed my claim, saying, "Your sister would never do something like that." She went on to tell me that I should stop being jealous of my younger sister and that it was just a freak accident that my ticket had been canceled. My father also tried to justify that this might have been an airline mistake, and I should not blame it on my sister. I was utterly frustrated that my parents couldn't fathom that their beloved miracle child would be behind such a deception. At this point, there was nothing that I could do. My ticket was already canceled, and there were no other flights for that day. While it was possible for me to catch a flight the next day, I didn't relish the idea of returning home, booking a new flight, and traveling alone after all. This was supposed to be a family trip. I was also dreading sharing a room with Lisa during this trip. I had hoped that she had matured over the years, but if she was behind the cancellation of my flight ticket, I couldn't help but wonder what other scheme she might have in store to make my trip miserable. My father was initially hesitant, suggesting they could all go back home and plan a new trip later. But he then started talking about how it had been ages since he went on a vacation. My mother agreed, telling me that I always travel a lot for work, so I wasn't going to miss out on much on this trip if I didn't go. Their comments really got to me. It felt like they wanted me to insist they continue to go on this vacation without me. I told them that they were welcome to continue with their vacation if they wanted, and they readily agreed. Although I didn't want the money they had spent on the tickets and rooms to go to waste. I was sad that they didn't care whether I joined them or not. It became clear that they didn't mind going on this family vacation as a family of 3. So there I was, standing alone at the airport as my parents and Lisa headed for their much-anticipated vacation. I decided to return to my home in San Francisco, not wanting to spend a day further alone in our family house. I tried my best to put the incident behind me and focused on enjoying the rest of my leave that I had already taken from work. I reconnected with old friends and spent my days engrossed in books, turning my break into a solo staycation. During the trip, my parents would sometimes video call me, and I could see how much they were enjoying the trip without me. It was like my absence didn't really affect their trip in any way. Although I wasn't too heartbroken about missing the vacation, I couldn't help feeling excluded. It was yet another reminder of the favoritism that had always existed in our family. I hoped that someday they would see through Lisa's true nature, and I guess my wish finally came true. A few days into their vacation, I woke up to several missed calls from my mother. Worried that my father's health might have taken a sudden downturn, I immediately called her back. Thankfully, she picked up, but she sounded extremely distressed. I asked her if everything was okay, and she went on to explain that something deeply troubling had happened. Apparently, my parents had noticed that my father's essential heart medications were disappearing day by day. It was an alarming situation, as my father couldn't afford to miss his medication given his fragile health. They were in a foreign country and didn't know if the same medicine would be available outside of the US. They were genuinely concerned about the missing pills and searched their room everywhere. In vain. My mother had gone to Lisa's hotel room, which was adjacent to theirs, to borrow some sunscreen. While Lisa was out, to her utter shock and dismay, she discovered all the missing medicines carefully tucked away inside Lisa's bedside table. It was a chilling revelation, and she immediately called for my father. He rushed in and found all his medication that had gone missing the last few days. I guess this is when the truth dawned on them that their beloved daughter, the so-called miracle child, had been intentionally jeopardizing my father's health and putting him at great risk. My mother's voice quivered as she asked if they should confront Lisa about this. I asked her to not speak to Lisa about this until they were back home. They needed to gather their thoughts, emotions, and evidence to face Lisa with the undeniable truth. I knew that speaking to Lisa now would be futile, as she was a master manipulator and would likely concoct excuses to evade responsibility. However, something unexpected must have transpired, and my parents must have confronted her about it. I received a late-night call from my father, his voice trembling as he informed me that Lisa was in jail. I was taken aback. He recounted that Lisa had a full-blown tantrum when they asked her about the medications, throwing objects and shouting insults. Her rage was targeted primarily at my father, accusing him of booking a ticket for me when he should have never allowed me on their family vacation. She told them that if they continued having a relationship with me, she would teach them a lesson that they would never forget. Lisa continued to lash out, and the situation escalated rapidly until someone from the hotel called the authorities. When the officers arrived, she refused to calm down and insulted them, which led her to be taken into custody. Lisa would be released after 24 hours, and there was nothing that my parents could do at the moment. Desperate to return home after Lisa's release, my parents had then tried to reschedule their flight. However, their plans were foiled when they discovered that their passports and wallets were missing. It turns out that Lisa had either discarded their passports or hidden them away. But for now, they were stranded in a foreign country with no passports or wallets. I guess this was the first time that my parents started to see my sister for who she really was. My mother, who had persistently defended Lisa for all these years, was now begging me to help, as they didn't have any money or their documentation to fly out of there. She was overwhelmed, shocked, and distraught at the realization of her angelic daughter's true nature. I told them not to worry and that I would send them money using Western Union, but they had to find their passports first so they could return back home. I was certain that Lisa hadn't discarded them. My parents were finally realizing that I had been the honest one all along about her antics, and they were grateful that I was helping them out despite them not taking me on this vacation. They apologized for their behavior. While part of me wishes I could forgive my parents, it's hard to shake the feeling that I've been deprived of their love for all these years due to their favoritism towards my sister. So, I told them I wasn't ready to forgive them yet for not including me on this vacation and now coming back to me begging for forgiveness. Update 1. Every day, my parents call me with updates, and I am growing increasingly anxious about their situation. You see, after Lisa was released from jail the next day, my parents threatened her to give them back their passports, or they would call the authorities on her again. Faced with no other choice, Lisa eventually revealed where she had hidden their passports. Upon their return home, my parents confronted Lisa and made it clear that she needed to gather her belongings and leave. It had become abundantly clear that they had reached their breaking point, finally realizing the truth about their daughter's manipulative and harmful actions. She might jeopardize his health again by stealing his medicines. This started another screaming match between Lisa and my parents. During this confrontation, Lisa began to hurl accusations at my parents, expressing her anger and resentment. She told my parents that she didn't want to share them with anyone else and claimed that she had been pushed to the brink when they invited me for the trip. She kept insisting that my parents should disown me, emphasizing that she was more than enough for both of them. It was at this moment that my parents must have realized the depths of her jealousy and the extent to which she resented my place in our family. While they tried to placate her, she kept yelling accusations at them. In a fit of desperation and anger, she claimed that she would go around telling everybody that they had neglected her when she was a child and mistreated her during her formative years. She was basically going to accuse them of parental negligence. Lisa then threatened to go to the police and make false statements against our parents if they continued to ask her to move out. This genuinely scared my parents, as these fabricated allegations would put them in a difficult position, particularly since they are well-respected doctors in our community. The mere thought of their reputation being ruined by false accusations has since left them feeling trapped and anxious. In the past few days, Lisa has continued to make our parents' lives more and more difficult. When she found out that they were talking to me regularly nowadays, she got really mad and started breaking dishes in anger. What's worse, she keeps stealing their car keys and hiding them, which makes it hard for them to go to work every day. Just tonight, my mother called me in tears after another bad incident during dinner. Lisa had a big tantrum and yelled at them because she wanted my mother to cook for her. When she refused because she was tired from work, Lisa went on a rampage and started breaking furniture around the house. Then she went to her room and turned up the music really loud, which prevented our parents from getting a good night's sleep. The situation keeps getting worse and it's taking a toll on my parents emotionally and mentally. I am increasingly concerned about what might happen next. While I had hoped my parents would see Lisa's true nature, I now worry that she could pose a real threat to them. I can't even return home at the moment because it might trigger her further and lead to more explosive confrontations. I'm doing my best to persuade my parents to consult with a lawyer so we can find a permanent solution to this ongoing crisis. The legal route seems like the best way to protect my parents and restore peace to our family. Update 2. Lisa has been arrested, as many of you predicted. With Lisa's increasing antics, this was bound to happen. One night, she came at our parents with a knife during a big fight. This terrified my parents, and they were forced to call the police. The officers swiftly took her into custody, placing her under arrest on charges of assault. With Lisa in custody, our parents decided it was time to pursue a more permanent solution. They consulted with an attorney who advised them on the legal process for evicting her from their home. They filed a formal eviction notice that said she had to leave. They knew it wasn't easy, but it was necessary to make things safer. Our parents didn't want to continue pressing any charges on her, as they just wanted her to move out. They bailed her out of jail and handed her a formal notice telling her she had to move out. It had all the legal stuff explaining why she had to go and when she needed to leave. My parents made sure they did everything by the book so Lisa couldn't challenge it. Next, they went to court with their lawyer to start the eviction process. It meant filing a lawsuit against Lisa. This was all pretty hard on my parents since it was their own daughter they were taking to court. They felt really sad, guilty, and like they had no other choice. The court finally gave an official order that said Lisa had to leave the house. If she didn't go on her own, they would have the legal right to make her leave the property. Lisa is going to be out by next week. My parents can finally breathe a sigh of relief, knowing that they have taken a step towards getting their home and peace back. It's been a tough road, but they're hopeful that things will get better once Lisa moves on. I have stayed in touch with them throughout this ordeal and plan on bringing them over to San Francisco for a few weeks. It's a way to give them a break and let them relax after all they have been through. I am sure they could use a change of scenery and some time away from the stress Lisa has caused. Plus, it'll be a chance for us to spend some quality time together, and I want to support them as much as I can. Update 3. I have received hundreds of comments under my post, and it's taken me some time to go through them. Many of you have suggested that we should consider getting Lisa checked out to see if there might be a mental health issue at play here. The thing is, since she's an adult, we can't force her to go for a checkup against her will. Due to her sudden violent outbursts, we don't want to push her and make this situation more complicated than it already is. As I mentioned in my last update, my parents flew down to San Francisco to spend a few days with me. They are here to take some time away after what they went through the last few months. Yesterday evening, as we gathered around the dining table in my cozy apartment, my parents began to open up to me, their voices laced with humility and regret. They admitted that they had been blind to Lisa's true nature over all the years and begged for my forgiveness. My father expressed his remorse for not heeding my warnings earlier. He admitted that they never expected Lisa to turn out this way and were unable to see the truth that lay beneath her charming facade. My mother echoed my father's sentiments and acknowledged the gravity of their mistake in dismissing my concerns about Lisa's behavior over the years. Her voice trembled as she voiced the pain of realizing how they had failed me by favoring her. I let them know that I appreciated them taking the first step in seeking my forgiveness. I shared several painful memories of the years of torment I endured due to Lisa's actions. My parents listened, utterly shocked and dismayed at the extent of what I had endured on my own. They acknowledged the pain I had gone through and expressed regret over the isolation I felt in my own family. My parents recounted how their favoritism towards Lisa had clouded their judgment because they never expected to get pregnant with her and always considered her to be their miracle baby. With sincerity in their voices, they begged for my forgiveness for all those years. It was a bittersweet moment for me, as I had always wanted their acknowledgement. While it may not have been the ideal way to mend our relationship, it was a turning point that brought some much-needed honesty and clarity to our family dynamic. We were, for the first time in years, truly acknowledging the issues that had plagued our family. I told them that it would take me some time to trust them again, and we all agreed to work through this together. For now, I plan to make the most of the time I have with my family while they are here with me for the next few days. Update 4. As the days passed, my parents and I spent more time together, exploring the vibrant streets of San Francisco, enjoying leisurely meals, and simply relishing each other's company. It has been quite a journey to reconnect with each other by rebuilding the bonds that had been frayed by years of favoritism and denial. I came to understand that their decision to seek solace with me was not just about physical distance from Lisa, but a desire to rebuild the family they had almost lost. They needed a fresh start, and so did I. My parents and I have since discussed what to do with Lisa. She is currently staying at one of her friends' homes. We can't simply abandon her despite the turmoil she has caused in our lives. As parents, my mom and dad feel a profound sense of responsibility towards their daughter, even if her actions have been unforgivable. We have come to terms with the fact that her behavior might not be just willful mischief but might be indicative of deeper issues. We plan to explore the possibility of a mental health evaluation to better understand her condition. However, since Lisa is an adult, we can't force her into such an assessment and plan to find a way to encourage her to seek help voluntarily. My parents plan on reaching out to Lisa once they are back home to see if she is open to a discussion. I don't want to contact her because she still holds a strong grudge against me, and I'm trying not to worsen the situation. For the sake of her mental health, considering the past incidents of aggression and violence, I have encouraged my parents to meet her at a public place so that she would be forced to control her emotions. Our primary goal is for Lisa to grasp our perspective and, most importantly, recognize the deep love and concern we hold for her. It's not about assigning blame, but rather about coming together as a family to address the issues that have strained our relationships. Now on to the next story. Story 2. My delusional stepdad purposefully ruined my $900 prom dress because I told him I wouldn't give his golden child son money for his prom outfit. He got his ass beat. I've never posted on here, but I really need advice because I'm so distraught and have no clue what I should do. I'm only 17 and don't know if there's any legal action I can take. So, for a little background, I lived with my bio mom and her husband since my dad and mom separated, and were never married. I originally lived with my dad since I was 2. He won custody during the custody battle. However, he later lost custody of me after having a bad work accident that made him paralyzed, and he wouldn't be able to take care of me. But I still see him every weekend and the whole summer. I moved in with my mom and her husband and their 2 sons, 1 stepbrother and 1 half-brother, when I was 10. And ever since then, my stepdad basically, directly and indirectly, says that I've disrupted their lives by coming back into my mother's life because I'm an extra person they have to take care of. I've been working since I was in 10th grade and saving up for my senior year/college since last year with the money from my job, since my mom and her husband let me know that only my mom would help me with the basics, such as my graduation cap and gown, senior dues, and senior class photo. Anything else I would have to pay for myself, such as prom. I get paid about $400 every 2 weeks for my job, which I've been saving in full. And then, I make extra money doing nails, about $100 a week plus tips, which I use as my spending money. Since it's my senior and last year of high school, I've been wanting to go all out for prom, so I set a $800 budget for my prom dress. My prom is in April, and I wanted to get my prom dress early since most of the actual cute ones sell out quickly. So I went prom dress shopping in December and found a beautiful dress that cost $890. It's dark green with a long train with rhinestones embedded into it with glitter in the dress. When I first showed my mom and stepdad the dress, they asked how much it was and I told them the amount. My mom said that she wouldn't be paying for a dress that expensive, to which I replied, "It's okay because I have more than enough money saved up to buy it, and I'll still have a lot of money left over, $23,000 to be exact." But only my mom knows that. Mom said I could get the dress and that it was very pretty. However, my stepdad said that it was irresponsible and a waste of money and that I should use it for better things like helping out the family and paying some of the bills and getting a dress cheaper that's a max of $300. Mind you, both his sons own PS5s and multiple $200 plus shoes. Long story short, my mom disagreed with him and I ended up getting the dress in the end, and she even put $150 toward it. However, ever since then, he constantly brings up that I should help pay for things around the house, since I have so much money to throw away. But my mom always shuts it down, saying that I work hard for my money to save it, and I already help out by paying the Netflix, Amazon Prime, and Hulu bills, while my stepbrother, 18, doesn't pay anything. Anyway, last Saturday, we got into a really big disagreement because my stepdad suggested I should help my stepbrother pay for his prom, to which I responded with no. He later called me selfish and said that it's not fair that I get an expensive outfit while he doesn't. And I guess I said, in a snarky way, I responded with that's not my child or my problem. He later tried to complain to my mom, and she said that I was right and that, if anything, he should pay for his own prom. Well, today, when I woke up from a nap, I noticed my prom dress was missing from my closet, since it's in the very front of my closet, and I looked around for it. I then asked my stepdad if he had seen it since my mother was at work, and he said he had, and in fact, he was washing it while giving me a condescending smile. I immediately ran downstairs and saw my dress being washed on the heavy-duty cycle. I immediately canceled it, and it was ruined. The majority of my rhinestones came out, and the glitter was washed out. The whole dress had been mangled. I took one look at it, then threw it in a trash bag and left for my friend's house with the dress. I texted my mom and sent her pictures, but I'm currently at my friend's house and lying on her bed. My friend's parents hung it outside to allow it to air dry so my stepdad can't put the blame on them if they dried it in the dryer. What makes me know he did it to spite me is because he never washes clothes, cooks, or anything since he's the man of the house. So he shouldn't have to. So there was no viable reason he could have for washing it, even if it needed washing. Is there anything I can do? I know neither of them can replace it, being in their tough financial situation. I'll update you guys when mom gets home. So far, my stepdad has called 2x, but I haven't answered him, and my mom's at work and can't receive calls. Edit 1. I don't know how to add updates, so I'm just going to add an edit. But my mom and I just got off the phone, and she's pissed and on her way home. She's currently on the way home, so me, my friend, and her dad are on the way to my house, and my mom said she was going to call the cops as soon as she gets off the phone, so they may be there by the time I get there. We've taken pictures, and my uncle, my mom's brother, will be over there by 8 because I contacted him while at work. I've listened to all your suggestions about withdrawing my money out of my account, so I'm thinking about that as well. I talked to my dad about that, too, and he told me I can stay with him. Edit/update 2. When I got home, my friend stayed in the car while her dad walked me in, and my stepdad was already gone. However, police were at the house. As of now, police said they can't really arrest him because it's not like he broke the law of stealing. I don't know how to explain it, but basically, this theft isn't breaking the law because he washed it and didn't keep it. They suggested I can get a confession and get him to pay or take him to small claims court. Also, the dress is non-refundable if damaged, so I can't return it or anything. While explaining to my mom what happened, I kind of fumbled my words and started crying, and she hugged me as I cried, and she said that he was going to pay for this. This financial issue has actually been an ongoing disagreement, and I think he just pulled the last straw because she is pissed. Also, I talked to my uncle and he's actually off work and on his way over here. He and my stepdad apparently have a rough history since my dad has had a smart mouth towards him in the past. While explaining to my uncle what happened, he said that it would be alright and that if anything, he'd buy back the dress before it sold out so I'd have my dress by prom. But he does expect my stepdad to pay me back one way or another, so I'm basically probably going to get my dress for free, maybe. That's a little win. I'll update more probably later tonight, but things seem to be good. Edit. Also, to clear up some confusion, I pay the streaming service bills because I really want to watch the shows on those services, and my mom works hard but doesn't make enough to have those services on top, so I've offered to pay them so we could have them. She's not a horrible, "I'll pick my husband over you" mother, and she always defends me. And he's never pulled a stunt like this, just tries to convince her to control my money and savings, and she's never spent my savings either. I feel like that's why they always clash, because he has a mindset of, we have all these financial troubles, and your daughter could solve them with her savings, and you have access to them. Edit/update 4. Okay, so my uncle came over, and he and my mom had a little argument because he blamed her for enabling my stepdad's behavior by not leaving him, and that's why he felt comfortable doing what he did. And she argued back, saying she always defended me against him and has never taken any of my money, which is true. We all talked about it a bit, and she revealed that last night, they had actually had an argument about paying off a car payment because she made a comment about how all these bills are taking a toll on her, and he made a comment about how it wouldn't be that much of a toll if she used my savings and didn't allow me to spend it on foolishness. And she got mad and defensive because he kept bringing it up. He also said that the $900 I spent could have paid off that car payment for the next 2 months. By the way, he only knows about my savings because he knows how much I get paid and that I've been saving all of it, so we think that's what triggered him to throw my dress in the washer. My mom and stepdad have also been texting back and forth, and he admitted that he washed it to teach me a lesson that I shouldn't spend that much money on a dress that can be destroyed that easily, but he put the setting on heavy duty, so he obviously intended to destroy it. My uncle has also offered to replace the dress, so I don't need to worry about not getting to wear my special dress. We called the boutique and explained it to them, and they say they can order another dress, although it won't be there until February 23rd, which is fine, to be honest. My mother sent my stepdad a long threatening message basically calling him out. She's kind of heated right now, so I'm going to try and ask for a screenshot later. She and my father also spoke and decided that it would be best that I get my own bank account so that my stepdad can't use the excuse that she has access to my account, so that's also great. My mom and I had a talk about what's going to happen after this, and she said she's not sure as of just yet because it's all a little too much for her because she's seriously contemplating leaving him. But I guess she doesn't want to actively discuss that right now. Also, my stepdad is currently at a friend's house. I'll continue to update, possibly may get one tomorrow. My friend's parents are going to keep the dress over at their house, and I'm going to pick it up tomorrow to have it as proof. Edit/update 5. My uncle has transferred me $1,000 for my prom dress, and I'm actually planning on using the money to replace the dress and buy new shoes. He's very well off, which was one reason I contacted him in the first place, so I plan on just calling the boutique and seeing if they can reorder it, and I'll just pick it up from there sometime in February. However, my stepdad still must pay in some form, or at least we are trying to get him to. My uncle has called my other uncles and aunts with my permission to basically vent about the situation. So the majority of my mom's side, who all live in GA, knows about what happened. I woke up to a lot of texts about the situation, given sympathy as well as money to have for prom, which has totaled to about $300, so this is great. My mom has also contacted my step-in-laws, who then spread the news with pictures, and I guess most of them are shocked as well, other than his mother, who is buying his claim that it's just a dress and it was an accident despite evidence. I got a call from my stepdad's sister sympathizing with me, and through conversations with her, I learned that my stepdad has also been asking a lot of his family to help him with his finances because, for some reason, the dude has bought so many things to pay off that he can't keep up with them. My mom called my stepdad for answers, which we recorded, and he's basically trying to blame her because if she didn't piss him off last night, then he wouldn't have done it. and that he was trying to show me why I shouldn't be irresponsible with money because, I guess, he planned to lecture me afterward. Also, my mom has broken up with him because he blamed her for caring more about me than him, which is weird. It triggered an argument with her saying, "You think I care about her more than you? You're going to see just how much I do." Also, they've been in a rocky relationship since he can't manage money, and this was her breaking point. Okay, so a lot of shit has transpired. Firstly, we've placed an order for my dress and they are shipping it now, and it should be at the boutique by February 23rd, so all that is taken care of. My stepdad and mom are officially broken up, and my mom said she doesn't know if she'll move on with divorce proceedings yet because everything is still fresh, and lawyers are expensive, and she can't afford it right now. Also, they have a prenup so they don't share assets, and the house is my mother's house that she inherited. She had a different dad than all her siblings, and all her siblings share a dad. So my stepfather showed back up with his brother after a while, and my stepfather decided to buy me a new dress from Macy's that looked similar to the original dress in color and length, but it's very tacky and ugly and looks nothing like the original. He then tried to apologize and said it wasn't his intention to ruin the dress. He said that he was simply going to wash it and say, "See, this is why you don't buy things like this." And then he would have bought me another dress, but that makes absolutely no sense. Also, my uncle came back to my house after I texted him that my stepdad had come back. He was at the store, and they got into a big argument where basically my uncle demanded to know why he destroyed the dress, and my stepdad said he's not going to walk up in his house demanding shit. And my uncle called him a bitch, and then my stepdad said to call him a bitch again, which he did, and they ended up fighting. My stepdad lost. He threatened to call the cops, but we reminded him that he swung first. After that, my stepdad went on a tirade and cussed us out and left, and took the dress with him. We are actually planning on taking your advice and taking him to small claims court, given the evidence and the damage, and hopefully we win. Also, my stepdad is staying at his parents' house currently. Lastly, for all curious about my brothers, they are 15, half, and 18, step. The 15-year-old was at his girlfriend's house since Friday, so he wasn't home for any of the commotion, but did reach out to me today. I love him so much. And the 18-year-old basically sided with his dad. So that's all there is to say. Also, those who suggested changing the streaming passwords, I have changed them, and me and my mom are going to get me my own bank account later today. Thank you, guys, for all the support. I'll continue to update as things progress, our plans of action, and the verdict and all. Now on to the next story. Story 3. I'm a 27-year-old male with a twin sister. Growing up, my twin sister and I experienced very different treatment from our parents. My parents genuinely seemed convinced for some reason that my sister was destined for greatness, while I was the so-called black sheep, just because I was more interested in playing sports than studying. They constantly compared us, which was demoralizing and bruised my self-esteem growing up. I felt pretty low about myself for a long time. When I was a kid, my sister always had these huge, fancy parties on our birthdays, and I felt like I was just there, not really noticed. She'd have sleepovers with her pals, giggling and having fun, and I was sometimes pulled into playing tea party games I didn't really want to. But you know what? Secretly, I kind of enjoyed those tea parties too. It felt like my grandma was the only one who really cared about me and my family. Whenever she visited, she made sure to bring my favorite chocolates and sometimes even gave me some money to spoil myself. But things started changing. The attention my twin sister got turned into a sort of emotional bullying towards me. My parents started making fun of my grades and putting down my dreams. It felt as though no matter how much I tried, I could never meet their expectations. Although I was good at sports, they barred me from participating in extracurricular activities, as they wanted me to concentrate only on my studies just like my sister. It was frustrating, and I felt helpless as a child. I remember this one incident where I had a particularly heated argument with my parents about my future when I started applying for college because they didn't want to pay for me. While they had set aside money for our college funds, they wanted to use most of the funds on my sister's education. They believed her decision to attend an expensive school would help her excel better. They wanted me to attend a community college instead of a decent college of my choice. My grades were actually pretty good, but my parents didn't seem to want to invest much in me. When my grandmother learned about this, it led to a big fight between her and my parents. She even warned my mom that she'd be cut out of her will if they didn't agree to send me to a good college, just like they did for my sister. After a few days of arguing, they finally gave in. I will always be thankful to my grandmother because of this. It was when I went away to college that I first experienced what freedom felt like. For the first time, no one was watching over my shoulders, no one was comparing my grades, and no one was trying to compete with me. I met people and formed friendships with like-minded individuals. Despite the emotional and physical scars I had sustained over the years due to my family, I concentrated on putting it all behind me and enjoying this college experience as much as I could. During this time, I discovered my knack for logo and graphic design. I decided to start learning Photoshop and Adobe Illustrator by watching YouTube videos so I could make some side money. I then reached out to local businesses in my area to see if they needed a logo designer and slowly started building a portfolio of my work. Throughout college, I maintained this side hustle and never asked for a penny from my parents. When I graduated from college, instead of getting a corporate job, I realized I could turn my side hustle into a legitimate business, as I already had clients who were ready to keep me on retainers after years of being loyal to them. I made the decision to move into an apartment with roommates, and life was looking up. Meanwhile, my sister was excelling and getting ready for higher studies in biology, at least according to what my parents told me. Our contact dwindled over the years, especially after we went to different colleges. Over the years, my parents never really made any effort to contact me, hence I stopped trying as well after a while. I was financially independent now and had been going to therapy for years, so I had started to heal from my childhood wounds slowly. As a graphic designer, I know the custom of reviews is super important. Usually, I ask my clients if they like my work to write a review on Google or Facebook so that it helps more people find out about my business. Recently, one of my high-end clients was really happy with my work, so he posted a long message on Facebook appreciating my professionalism and work ethic. I was really surprised by this sweet gesture, and I started getting messages from strangers who were interested in my work. His post was seen by my entire family and close friends, as he had tagged me, so some of them began leaving comments under the post, congratulating me for doing well. I thought things were finally looking up for me, but that's when everything took a turn for the worse. Suddenly, my parents called me out of nowhere last week, requesting a meeting with me. All these years, they had never shown any interest in my life or even visited me in college, so I was pretty taken aback. I pondered over it for days and even talked with my therapist regarding this. I imagined maybe they had realized the abuse I had gone through as a child and wanted to offer an apology after all these years. I decided to meet them over lunch in a public place, just in case things didn't go well and I needed a quick exit. On the day I met them, my father immediately walked in to hug me, but my mother, as usual, maintained her distance and gave a quick smile. We sat down, gave our orders, and exchanged some small talk. I was already feeling anxious and wanted them to just get to the point, so I asked why they reached out to me suddenly after all these years. It was then that my mother dropped a bombshell. My sister, the golden child of the family, was 2 months pregnant, and they had just found out the news. Caught me off guard, and I almost choked on my cocktail. Turns out, my sister had a one-night fling with a guy at a party, and now she was expecting a baby. She had only just found out, and because she had never asked for his name, she could not locate the father. As a result, she planned to move back in with our parents, who would support her in taking care of the baby while she attempted to continue her studies from home. The reason my parents contacted me, as they put it, was because they wanted my help financially. They claimed I would soon be an uncle and they expected me to pitch in to caring for my sister's upcoming child. My face burned with anger as their words sank in. After a lifetime of feeling like an afterthought, they only reached out to me for my assistance because of my pregnant sister. I immediately signaled the server, requested the bill, paid it, and abruptly left the restaurant. My mother chased after me, urging me to be a good son, and insisting the baby needed a good role model. I reached home and turned off my phone, as I kept getting a lot of calls and messages from my parents. After a night's sleep, when I finally switched my phone back on the next day, I found not only missed calls and messages from my mother, but also a lengthy text from my sister. In her message, she made demands, insisting that I take care of her child and be a responsible uncle. She told me how I was doing well in my life and earning good money now, so I shouldn't be selfish, and could afford to send her a couple of $100s every month to help her take care of the baby. I didn't even bother to reply to her. I cut off her call. I just couldn't sleep that night and stayed up in bed for hours, wide awake, as this whole situation kept bothering me. The condescending tone of my parents, their abuses over the years, and my sister's entitlement were all just too much, and I felt like I couldn't take it anymore. This is when I decided to make a Facebook post from my personal ID regarding my situation. I thought only my family and close friends on Facebook would read this, and I just wanted the truth to be out. I wrote down everything, right down to how unworthy my parents had made me feel over the years, and had only reached out when they needed financial assistance. After I posted it, I shut down my laptop and went to sleep. When I woke up the following day, I discovered that the post had gone viral in a matter of hours. There were people from my friend list, relatives, and even complete strangers who had commented their support under my post, and some had even shared it. It seemed like a lot of people understood the abuse, and the message behind the post resonated with them. There were hundreds of comments from people sharing their own similar stories about family abuses, which was heartbreaking to read. My parents must have received angry calls from some of my relatives because my mother called me quite upset and asked me to delete the post immediately. She explained how she had always thought I wouldn't amount to anything and had doubted my career success, which is why she hadn't reached out to me earlier. However, after seeing the positive review from my client, she realized my business was thriving, and that's when she got in touch to ask for help regarding my sister. She kept insisting on how important it is for us to protect the family's reputation. My dad reacted a bit differently. He sent an apology via text but also wanted me to remove the post so that we could handle the situation privately and prevent any further damage to the family's reputation. My parents seemed to have been caught off guard by this sudden public revelation of our dysfunctional family dynamics. Throughout my life, my family consistently favored my sister and convinced me that I could never achieve success in my career. However, after I wrote the post on Facebook calling them out, they suddenly wanted to play family with me. Despite my parents' multiple pleas to delete the post, I chose to leave the post as it was to prove them all wrong. This decision has now caused a rift within the family. While my grandmother and some other family members have reached out to me and openly provided their support, a few others, especially from my dad's side, are urging me to keep the family matters within the family. So, I stayed firm, calling out my parents on Facebook and refusing to take the post down, finally getting the last laugh after all these years. Update 1. It's been a whirlwind of a week since I last shared my story, and the support and encouragement I have received from everyone has been overwhelming. It's heartening to know that I'm not alone during this time. We come from a close-knit neighborhood, so now everybody knows our business after I posted on Facebook, and it seems that my post has ignited conversations within our social circle. My parents have received criticism not only from relatives, but also from their close friends and neighbors who were previously unaware of the extent of favoritism and emotional abuse. I found out from my relatives the reason why my family reached out to me out of the blue. You see, my parents are currently enjoying their retirement, and over the years, they have used up most of their savings to clear their debts and explore the world. My sister has never had a job, as my parents wanted her to concentrate only on her studies, which meant she didn't have any savings. Now, with the arrival of the baby, they realized they needed financial support. When they came across the Facebook review that my client had written and tagged me, they realized that my business was actually doing good and I was earning more than they had imagined, and they were shocked that I had proved them all wrong and established myself. But instead of wishing me well, they saw this as an opportunity to ask for financial help. However, when I declined and decided to publicly address the issue on Facebook, they had no alternative but to back down. My sister had called me a few days ago after I wrote the post, and as I had expected, she sounded beyond enraged. Apparently, our parents are now refusing to take care of her and the baby financially, as they have realized not to coddle her any longer and want her to be responsible for her own actions. They are okay with my sister moving in, as long as she drops her plans for higher studies for now and starts looking for a job with her biology degree. They also want her to contact the father through prenatal paternity testing so she can inform him about the pregnancy. After hearing what my parents had to say, my sister, who had never been asked previously to take any kind of responsibility her entire life, was stumped. She thought she could call and direct her anger out on me, but this time I didn't keep quiet and decided to stand up for myself. I told her that she wasn't entitled to my hard-earned money just because she got pregnant from a one-night stand. I let her know that her lack of maturity wasn't really my problem. While I might have come across as harsh, I believe it marked a turning point in our conversation, making my sister realize she could no longer bully me. I ended the call by feeling a sense of satisfaction for speaking my mind. I then went ahead and sent a group text to my parents and sister, letting them know that I expected a formal apology for the abuse I had suffered. I wanted them to acknowledge the pain of mistreatment I had endured through all those years. The text was clear, stating that this apology was not a mere request. It was a requirement, a necessary step towards reconciliation. I emphasized that I had reached a point where I couldn't continue down the same path. The emotional toll of their actions was too heavy to bear any longer. If they refused to take this step, if they remained unwilling to admit their wrongdoings, it might be the end of the road for our relationship. Now I'm going to wait and see how they react. The ball is in their court, and I hope that they make the right decision. Update 2. Although it's been a month now, I still continue to receive overwhelming support and responses from strangers every day. I feel much lighter since I spoke my truth, and no longer have to worry about hiding my past from the world. First, I want to let everyone know that I am perfectly safe and not at all depressed, as many seem to have assumed in the comments. What happened with my parents did affect me initially, but I have since learned to not hold it against them for my own mental well-being. As my therapist explained, I can't really control other people's actions. The only thing that I can control is my own emotions. Since my ultimatum, my parents have tried reaching out to me, alternating between apologies and attempts to downplay the situation. They are still struggling to come to terms with the public exposure of our family problems, and it's clear that their own reputation is of more concern to them than understanding my feelings. After some contemplation, I made the decision to remove the Facebook post from my page, even though I had planned to keep it up forever. I realized that the post had accomplished precisely what I had hoped for: a public declaration calling out my parents for their years of abuse. My mother continues to believe that I could have done better and pointed these things out years earlier to them instead of letting it build up for so long and humiliating them publicly. This really frustrates me because, as a teenager, I had always tried to talk to them about the situation, but they never listened to me. I have told her that if she feels that it was my fault for how she treated me, then I would like to take some space from her, as I didn't want this to affect my mental well-being anymore. As for my sister, she took a while, but eventually, she surprised me with an apology. I don't know if it's the pregnancy hormones or a newfound realization that prompted her to reach out. In the lengthy text, she expressed that she could finally grasp the hardships I had to endure for being treated differently all those years. With our parents no longer providing financial support and reminding her every day to take responsibility for her choices, she was experiencing the pressures I had felt growing up. She went on to explain that when she initially found out she was pregnant, it had stirred fear in her heart. The reality of having to handle this on her own hit her hard, and she realized she had made mistakes. Financial constraints loomed, and she acknowledged that she had wrongly directed her anger at me. She had learned from our parents that I was doing well in my career, and this made her think that she could ask me to contribute. But when I refused, it finally dawned on her that she would have to take responsibility for her own life. She told me that she was trying her best to find a job, as she wanted to be a better example to her child. She apologized for asking me for money and assured me that she wouldn't be doing that ever again. She said that she wanted me to be a part of her baby's life as a positive male role model. Although I was a bit hesitant, I accepted the apology, and we met over lunch. I was also happy to hear that she was looking for a job, and I promised to help her out with her resume and cover letter. Since we started talking, my sister has been suggesting that we should talk to our parents about what I went through so they can understand my perspective better, but I don't think I'm ready yet to have a conversation with them. I finally paid the long overdue visit to my grandmother this weekend. She's been my rock, my pillar of support, always standing by my side through all these years. It was high time I expressed my heartfelt thanks for everything she has done for me. When I visited her, the nostalgia of my childhood rushed back, the familiar scent of her home-cooked meals, the creaky wooden floors, and the warm smile on her face were everything that I loved about her. We spent the entire afternoon talking about our lives, dreams, family. She told me that she was proud of me for standing up to my parents after all these years. She let me know that she had always pointed out my parents' unfair treatment towards me, but they had never acknowledged it. I told her that regardless of what my parents had put me through, I didn't blame her, and I wanted her to know that her kindness towards me had profoundly shaped my life. Now, coming to my graphic design business, which a lot of you have been curious about, it is doing exceptionally well, just as I had expected. Ever since my high-end client left a positive review of my work, my inbox has been flooded with inquiries. The satisfaction of knowing that clients appreciate my work is immeasurable. It's not just about the growth of my business, but the validation that I'm on the right path. Each new inquiry feels like a step closer to my goals and ignites a sense of passion and motivation to keep pushing forward. It's truly thrilling to see that all the efforts and hard work I've poured into this are finally paying off. Overall, I would say that this whole experience has been tough but also incredibly liberating. For now, I plan on focusing on my work, personal growth, and spending my time with supportive friends and family members only. Although the path to healing is a long one, and I don't know where it will lead, I am thankful for the outpouring of support and understanding I have received here from the Reddit community. While I have taken small steps towards mending relationships with my family, I am committed to prioritizing my own well-being first and ensuring that I'm not subject to emotional abuse or favoritism any longer. I will continue to share updates if there is anything interesting. Update 3. Things have really turned out well, and a lot has changed in my life in the past 6 months. One of the most beautiful and life-changing experiences has been meeting my niece. My sister, who was pregnant, had given birth to the most adorable baby girl. She asked me to be her godfather, and I couldn't feel more honored by this special role. It's a new chapter in our family story, and I'm looking forward to watching this little one grow up. In the past few months, my parents have put in sincere efforts to mend our relationship. It turns out that my grandmother and other relatives had a heart-to-heart talk with them, and it seems to have made a difference. My mother, in particular, has been trying hard to connect with me on a deeper level. She admitted to feeling both embarrassed and regretful that she couldn't be a better parent to me. Her genuine apology moved me to tears because these were the words I had longed to hear for so many years. I couldn't help but think about how different things might have been if she had spoken to me with these words during my upbringing, potentially sparing me years of suffering and pain. My dad, on the other hand, has suggested teaching me golf, emphasizing how learning the sport could potentially help me attract more high-end clients. Golf has turned out to be more challenging than I initially anticipated, and it certainly requires some dedicated practice to master. Nevertheless, I enjoy practicing with my dad every weekend and steadily improving with each session. My relationship with my sister has also evolved significantly over time. We now regularly meet for Saturday morning breakfast, where we catch up on each other's lives. We also found out the father of her child and reached out to him. Both of them agreed on a court-signed document to co-parent the child together. I have met the guy, and he seems like a genuine fellow. Since becoming a mother, my sister has been working hard to change herself. She seems to have realized the importance of understanding and empathy, something that was long overdue. Moreover, she has secured a work-from-home opportunity that suits her well. She is diligently saving money to move out of our parents' house, and it's heartening to see her make positive strides in her life. To help repair the long-standing resentments in our family and unspoken feelings, we have all planned to go for family therapy soon. It hasn't been an easy process, and at times our conversations seem to get emotionally charged. Hence, going for therapy will allow us to have more honest conversations professionally. Professionally, I've seen considerable growth in my graphic design business thanks to the skills I have developed over the years. I absolutely love my job, and I am grateful for my career. I'm glad I found my true calling early in life, and there's nothing I find more satisfying than working on my designs and assisting my clients. I have managed to expand my client base to an international level after multiple positive reviews from my existing customer base. If everything goes well, I plan on hosting free workshops to help college students and aspiring graphic designers with my industry knowledge. I remember the struggles I faced when I was new to this field and had no one to guide me. So I'm hoping my workshops can make a difference for these folks. I'm excited about the future and the opportunities it holds for both my career and my life. Life is good for me now, and I couldn't be more grateful for the love and support I received from everyone these past couple of months. I hope this can be my last update regarding this situation. If you like this video, please be sure to like and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this, and give us your thoughts about the stories in the comments section. Thank you and see you in the next video.